All right, what's up, homies? It's Ryan. We are back with another episode of our Miami Marlins franchise here on Out of the Park Baseball 18. It is Tuesday, June 6th, 2023, the day of the 2023 first-year player draft. Your Marlins, 21-36, 16 and a half games back in the NL East. I believe like at least 10 back in the wild card race, if not more. If I sound a little different, my throat, I think there's something wrong with it. I don't know if I'm getting sick or whatever, but, if there's any weird cuts or anything, it's probably because I edited out me clearing my throat. I got my nice thing of G Fuel here, so hopefully that'll help. But anyway, the Marlins have not been very competitive this year, which is not too surprising. We were projected to go 72-90 this year, finished last in the NL East, so I suppose we are on track to do that. We were supposed to have a below-average offense, and clearly we've had much worse than a below-average offense. We were supposed to have a mediocre pitching staff. I guess that has gone according to plan. We were not supposed to have any top 10 hitters or pitchers, and I can safely say that's something that has happened. And we did not have any top 10 prospects on the the top 10 prospect list that is released at the start of the season. It is June, as I said, so I did make a few moves over the past couple of months. Go to my complete transactions log, and really not the past couple of months, but the past couple of weeks. I traded 31-year-old left fielder Hunter Renfroe, who we got in the Rule 5 draft, to the Atlanta Braves, getting this 26-year-old minor league catcher Lucas Herbert in return. Now, Herbert, no offensive potential whatsoever, but really, really solid defensively, good leadership skills. So if nothing else, I kind of envision this guy as being my backup catcher at some point down the line, maybe even my starter, but we will get to that point eventually. And we traded Renfroe, who he did have 8 home runs for us, but he was only OPSing at a 536 clip. He was a negative win player, 41 OPS plus. He was slashing just 161, 195, 341, so he wasn't really even getting on base at all. 79 strikeouts to just 9 walks. It was time to cut bait with him, and I had some minor league outfielders that I needed to call up, so this was the first guy I figured needed to go. I also let go of another outfielder. I DFA'd George Springer. He was placed on waivers. Another guy, he was slashing 168, 257, 337, OPSing under 600. He was a negative win player. Now, some of that might be due to him playing center field. He's not a natural center fielder, but that's where I had to put him. He did have 8 home runs as well, but he had struck out 84 times to just the 19 walks. He was not having a good season either, and as I mentioned, there were a couple outfield prospects that I needed to call up because they were ready to come up. So I figured I'd bite the bullet on George Springer. You guys remember we signed him to just the 1-year deal with the team option for next year. So, of course, he's not going to get that bonus for the 550 plate appearances because I don't even know a team that would pick him up. And if he does not get claimed, which I imagine he will not get claimed off of the waiver wire, we're just going to release him because I'm sure he doesn't want to go down to AAA. He wants a shot at the majors. The George Springer experience then did not work out. Was there anything else I needed to do? I don't believe there was. No, okay, so then just going to the guys I called up. I did call up Ben Melee. He is from AAA. He has not had the best season, but his ratings are at a point where I need to see him in the major leagues. Just he's at that point in his development, so I decided to call him up, and he's much better defensively than Springer was. So we will hopefully, the defensive efficiency hopefully will improve. We also called up Juan Roybal. He was demolishing minor league pitching, and after 3 games at AAA, I decided to call him up just because his expectation was playing in the majors. And his ratings are pretty intriguing to the point where I decided it wouldn't hurt anything to call him up. If nothing else, he still has minor league options. If he struggles, I'll send him back down and call up somebody else. But I really think this guy is ready just to show what he can do. Hopefully his rookie season goes pretty well. This was our international free agent signing way back in 2018, so quite a while ago. You see, defensively, he is pretty solid. You can really only play right field, left and center field. You're kind of asking for trouble. But a good influence on the other players, quiet, and he plays the game the right way. He's got some speed. He can steal bases. He can run the bases. Not a ton of home run power yet. Now, as he continues to grow and add strength to his frame, perhaps that home run power will improve. But as of right now, not really a ton of home run power. But he can put the bat on the ball, good gap power. He can avoid strikeouts, and he has a solid eye that should only improve. So hopefully that was a good international free agent signing. Hopefully he proves me right. But is there anything else I want to talk about? I did call up Carlos Cortez to be my shortstop. I believe I sent down... Oh, no, I did not send down anyone. So I moved Lucius Fox to a backup role. John Dean is now my starting second baseman, and that's what I did. So I DFA'd Matt Carpenter as well. He was not having a good year, I believe. If I go to here, yeah. So Matt Carpenter, he was OPSing at 639, so he was doing better than Renfroe and Springer. And he was still getting on base, I suppose, a respectable clip. He was slashing 205, 345, 295, 57 strikeouts to 40 walks. The only reason I signed Matt Carpenter was because my owner, Jeffrey Loria Jr., wanted an upgrade at third base, but Carpenter, it just did not make sense to keep him on the roster. I know he was a crowd pleaser. I know supposedly they love his work ethic and personality, but it's just not something I was too concerned with. Another guy like Springer, who was essentially on a one-year deal because I wasn't going to bring him back next year. It seems like he's just, really fallen off. Maybe a contending team might take a shot on him as a backup, but I didn't want to keep him on the team, and that allowed me to call up Carlos Cortez, who was, he was doing very well down in AAA New Orleans. He was OPSing at 834, 127 OPS plus. He had 38 strikeouts to 20 walks. He had stolen 12 bases. He's considered one of the team leaders, which will help team chemistry. Not that we have any issues with team chemistry. You see, the morale right now is content. It's been right here basically all season. It's been between content and happy the entire season. So I think that, signing a guy like Tommy Edman and just a guy like Matt Caesar, that's definitely helped. And you see Ben Melee, he's a spark plug, so that should help. Juan Roybal, he is a leader. Carlos Cortez, as I mentioned, he's a leader. And we still don't have any disruptive, outspoken, selfish, or unmotivated guys on the roster. So if nothing else, that is a positive. But as I mentioned, it is the first-year player draft. So let's just go all the way up here. Take a look at the top prospects. So Steve Cardoza, Joe Peak, Mike Anderson, Jim Hembry, Zaire Prescia, Steve Kruger, Josh Canada, Jorge Salazar, Greg King, and Andy Neal. Now, we will get at least one of these top two guys because if you remember, we do have a top two pick in this year's draft. We are just behind the Seattle Mariners, who were in, 48 and 114 last year. I'm kind of hoping we do get Mike Anderson. It seems like our scouting director really likes him. Poor competition level, but easy sign for us. He's from Wisconsin Lutheran in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That is a college. High bonus demand, but it seems like this kid could be the real deal. OSA likes him just as much as our head scout. He has a way of immediately placing himself in the good graces of those evaluating him. Mike Moo Anderson, 23 years old, so he's kind of old for a guy coming right out of the draft. But he is kind of like in that Luis Soto role where a lot of these stats are a lot more developed than you would expect out of someone coming out of the draft. So this is a guy that can be fast-tracked to the majors, so I'm hoping we get him. And who was the other guy I already forget? If we go all the way up, first-year player draft. Joe Peak, Steve Cardoza, Mike Anderson is actually third on OSA's ratings. Okay, all right, fair enough. Let's get to the first-year player draft, continue the draft, and hopefully we get some good talent. Jim Hembry did go number one, so we're not going to mess around here. We are going to take Mike Anderson. I just realized I'm looking at all batters. Do not want to make that mistake. And so Mike Anderson is still the best player available, so we're going to go with Mike Anderson, and he's probably going to come up within the next year or two. As I said, he can be fast-tracked, so that's what we are probably going to end up doing. All right, this Jim Pimentel guy really intrigues me. Very, very undersized. 5'8", 155 pounds, but he is only 17 years old, so hopefully that'll improve as time goes on. From Rutherford, PA, he's coming out of high school in Harrisburg. Average competition level, very easy sign for us. It seems like he could be a solid middle of the rotation starter, if nothing else. The stamina, it is kind of an issue, but I can work with it, I think. So we are going to go with Jim Pimentel. The velocity also is an issue, 89 to 91. That's where he sits, but we will try to learn to live with it. So we are going to go with Jim Pimentel here in the second round. Third round here, Joe Ott. This is a closer from Fresno State and obviously Fresno, California. Had a solid year there. Good competition level. Easy sign for us. It seems like another guy that could be up within the next year or two. He is 23 years old. The ratings are intriguing. He's never going to be a starter. I know it's his borderline starter. He's probably never going to be a starter, but if nothing else, he could be a solid bullpen piece for us. So we are going to take closer Joe Ott here in the third round. All right, fourth round here. I got to take this guy, Andy Constantine. The gap power is intriguing, but he also went to Medford Tech. That's a high school. right near where I'm from, like roughly 20 minutes away, if that. So I got to take him, right? Like he's right from there where I grew up. So we're going to take Andy Constantine just for that reason. All right, it is the 5th round. I very rarely do this, but we're going to take this impossible sign here, Josh Burks. We're going to see if maybe we can get him signed to a contract. Our head scout, Kalu, loves him. OSA really loves him. And it's going to take some money to try to get this guy, but we're going to see if we can. Hopefully we can. He is from Hoboken, so another Jersey kid, but it just seems like this kid, if he does live up to his potential, that's always the question. He could really be the stud that we're looking for. So we're going to take a chance here, born on the same day as my dad, April 14th. We're going to take a chance here on Josh Burks, and hopefully we give him enough money to where we can sign him. 6th round, I found this second baseman here from the University of Alabama. Great competition level. He OPS'd at 742 there at 2023. Solid contact potential, really good gap power potential. He'll never have any home run power. His eye seems like it'll never develop. It does seem like he'll be able to avoid strikeouts, respectably. And it seems like he could be pretty solid defensively as well. So with our 6th round pick, we're going to take this 21-year-old second baseman out of the University of Alabama, Tim Eigner. 7th round now. I found the starting pitcher, and these ratings are not very intriguing, although he was a pretty good pitcher there down in the high school at Flagstaff, Arizona. But we're not going to take him to be a pitcher. We're going to take him to be a hitter. I don't know what position he's going to play, but we are going to take him to be a hitter. It seems like he could play the infield and the outfield, so we'll have to see. Maybe just a corner outfielder might be better for him, although I don't know. We'll figure it out. Another guy, solid contact and gap power potential. This guy seems like he could have an eye that could improve to, at least something respectable. He should be able to avoid strikeouts. Really speedy guy and okay defensive ratings. Let's say that his position in high school was second base. I want to try him somewhere else, I think. So we are going to go with Kevin Milzarek. I know I mispronounced that, but that is who we're going to take here in the 7th round. 8th round, I found a pitcher that was kind of appealing to me, a 20-year-old from St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia. Starting pitcher, Kanye, Gradine, I suppose. Solid stuff and control potential. It seems like the movement will never really develop past what it is right now. It seems like he'll also be a 2-pitch pitcher with a lot of stamina, so maybe like a long relief guy, if nothing else. So in the 8th round, we were going to take a shot on this guy, Kanye Gradine. 9th round, another guy. This potential doesn't really seem all that much with the bat for this catcher, John Grinnell from Tulane University in New Orleans. But I am going to draft him because of his potential as a pitcher. The control is going to be iffy, but the 80 grade stuff and the 275 grade pitches is kind of hard to pass up here in the 9th round. So as we did with the pitcher that we're going to turn into a hitter, we're going to take this guy, John Grinnell, and convert him from a catcher to a relief pitcher. With our final pick here in the 2023 draft, before we just end up letting our scouting director take over, we're going to take this right fielder from the University of North Carolina, Dan Cohenauer, a right fielder, left-handed bat, 23 years old, 6'2", 200. He has power potential. Okay gap power, not above average, but it will be okay. Can't really do much else with the bat, but he does have a lot of speed, and I say it so much, you can't teach speed. Now, he does form tentative opinions, reserving judgment, but we are going to take a chance on this guy who OPS'd at a 778 clip during his final season there at the University of North Carolina. 8 home runs, 39 RBI, struck out 35 times, walked 23. So with our 10th round pick, we're going to take right fielder Dan Cohenauer from the University of North Carolina, and that is going to be the final time that we make a pick. We are going to turn it over to the scouting director to choose the rest of the players in this draft. All right, we are here at the All-Star break. The Marlins are 35-52. If you take a look at the schedule, aside from like that losing streak right there about a week ago, team's actually been playing a little better. Remember, the first-year player draft was right there. That day we lost to the Cubs, but we've actually been playing better baseball. We haven't been completely awful since the first-year player draft. We got all the draft picks that we wanted. We also got an intriguing international free agent. So if we go to our international complex, he should be up to, there he is. I think he's, yep. So we got Rogelio Barbosa, a guy that our scout, Jim Kalu, does not think will have, serviceable contact or gap power potential. But the home run power is 70 grade. I could not pass up on that. He should have a solid eye. He should be able to avoid strikeouts. Composure needs a bit of work. and may improve as he matures. No speed to him at this point. Very bad defensively also, but he's only 16 years old. Now, OSA thinks this guy could be a real stud up at the dish with above-average contact, gap power, and home run power potential. Not a solid eye, but he should be able to avoid strikeouts. If he could, do something like this, I'd be happy. But at the same time, if he comes up with 70 grade power, it's hard to be upset about that either. So he is 16 years old. We're not going to see him for quite a while, but hopefully he does turn out to be a good sign for us. The All-Star Game rosters have been announced. Let's take a look and see who we got. We had to have gotten at least one, and our guy was Jared Kelenic, who is having a pretty solid year, slashing 305, 405, 427, 6 home runs, 12 stolen bases. He's been about a 2-win player, 132 WRC+. That is all well and good. Let's take a look now at the rest of the All-Star roster. So in the AL, we have Michael Fulmer, Pyong-Chu Zhang, Michael Lorenzen, Corbin Martin, Jonah Patton, Chris Sale, Justice Sheffield, Michael Wacha, Cody Allen, Dylan Betances, J.P. Farisian, Liam Hendricks, Corey Knebel, Damian Magnifico, Oscar Hernandez, Francisco Mejia, Max Pentecost, Bobby Bradley, Connor Godert, Ramon Osuna, Yohan Moncada, Fernando Perez, Caleb Coward. Wow, Caleb Coward, really? Joey Gallo, Xavier Edwards, Francisco Lindor, Sergio Salgado, Andrew Benintendi, Jesus B. Sanchez, Anthony Santander, Brett Phillips, Jimmy Hartwig, Nomar Mazara, Sean Reynolds, and Manny Sanchez. And in the NL, Jake Arrieta, who's now with the Atlanta Braves, Parker Bug, who they turned into a starter. Okay, fair enough. Joan Gregorio, Kyle Hendricks, Clayton Kershaw, Carlos Martinez, Martin Perez, Noah Syndergaard, Ian Anderson, Alex Claudio, Sean Gilmartin, Kenley Jansen, Adam Liberator, Trevor Rosenthal, Austin Hedges, Eli Marrero, Kybert Ruiz, Luis Davalos, Paul Goldschmidt, Matt Olson, Ozzie Albies, Chris Bryant, J.P. Crawford. It's nice to see his name there. Brendan Rodgers, Addison Russell, Corey Seager, Edmundo Sosa, Aldrem Corredor, Magnuris Sierra, Ron Warren, Alex Destino, Estevan Florial, Stephen Foster, Bryce Harper, and Kelenic. As I mentioned, your Marlins 35 and 52. We are now 22.5 back in the NL East. Atlanta has started to run away with it, 58 and 30. Washington just 3.5 back at 55 and 34. But after that, you see the Mets are 500. The Phillies are just 2 games better than we are. And the wild card obviously not really in the books for us. The offense still has not been very good. So let's take a look at the stats right now. Just a real quick all-star update. We have Kelenic, as I mentioned, having a solid year. Carlos Cortez, since he's been called up, he is OPSing over 800 with 341, 386, 426 mark. He does not have any home runs yet, but he struck out 14 times, walked 9. That is a great ratio. Hopefully he can stay with that. Jose Abreu has proved to be a good free agent, signing a 292, 351, 458 slash, one of 3 guys OPSing above 800. He also has a 116 OPS plus, 15 home runs, 44 runs batted in, 84 strikeouts to 23 walks. This is a guy that I'm going to look to trade here pretty soon because we have a guy down in the minor leagues, Tristan Gray, that's about ready to come up, so I do need to make a spot for him. So I'm going to need to trade Abreu here pretty soon. Trey Turner is on a hot streak, another guy that I might look to trade for because of a prospect down in the minor league system that's ready to come up. He is slashing 245, 289, 420. He's rebounded from a rough start to the year, OPSing at 708. John Dean is not having a very good year. Juan Roybal has struggled since being called up, as has Ben Melee, but I'm going to give them the time to develop. This season has already been lost, so that is that. And Christian Vasquez does want to be traded, as he has been the past few years. So we will try to trade him to a contender to, make him happy. Roland, it's not like he's a slouch defensively either. I'd be fine with him behind the dish. So I'm going to cut away here. I am going to try to find maybe some offers for a guy like Jose Abreu, even Trey Turner possibly, if someone wants to offer me something of value for him. I know we just signed him to the 3-year deal. But as I mentioned, if we take a look at rosters and transactions, Tristan Gray, he is ready to come up. He is demolishing AAA pitching in 86 games started this year. He's OPSing at 915 with 13 home runs, 47 strikeouts, 30 walks, 20 stolen bases, and as I mentioned, the 13 home runs. And another guy, Christopher Martinez, is about ready to come up as well. Take a look at his statistics there in AA. He was doing well, so I promoted him up to AAA, and he has done well there. 293, 359, 421 slash, a 780 OPS. 4 home runs, 21 strikeouts to 15 walks. Great ratio. Would love to see him keep that up. But, as I mentioned, I'm going to cut out. I'm going to try to find some trade offers to make spots for Martinez and Gray in the lineup to see what they can do. So I will be back if I am able to find offers for these guys. All right, we are back. I found trades for a couple of the guys. I did not trade Christian Vasquez. They're just, you can't get anything for this guy for whatever reason. I tried everything. I tried like the worst possible prospects you could think of, and it didn't work. I tried just asking for $1, just like $1 in cash, just some cash considerations. That didn't work either. So it just doesn't make sense for me to trade this guy. It doesn't make sense for me to DFA him. It doesn't make sense. So as much as I tried to get him on a contending team, it didn't work out. So he's going to have to stick it out here until 2026, unless something else happens. But it's impossible to get anything for Christian Vasquez at this point. I don't know why, but that's just how it is. Having said that, I did make 2 trades. I got rid of Jose Abreu, and who else did I get rid of? Let's actually maybe just check the transaction log. That should help. Complete transactions log. So we made 2 trades. So we traded Trey Turner to the Oakland Athletics. Let's actually take a look at that trade here. We traded him to the Oakland Athletics along with Brian Anderson, and then just 2 guys with no potential, Thomas Jones and Dalvy Rosario, to the Oakland Athletics for starting pitcher Jack Carey. So with these 2 trades, I was just looking for like lottery ticket type guys that could pan out to be something. They could also just flame out. So Carey intrigued me. You could always use pitchers, which is why I got him. So we'll see if he can be anything. Then the other trade we made was with the Yankees. We traded Jose Abreu, Maikel Sosa, and Jason Gonzalez. Just another guys with no potential once again, to the Yankees for a pair of pitchers, a pair of arms in Lionel Aponte and Gio Orozco. Once again, lottery ticket type guys. They have intriguing ratings. They could turn out to be something. They could also turn out to be nothing. Only time will tell. But you're not going to get much, for example, for a 36-year-old fragile guy that can barely play first base. He's making $7 million this year. Not that matters to the Yankees or anyone, but it's just, you're not going to get much for these guys at this point. And I sold, I wasn't selling high on Trey Turner. Obviously, I was kind of selling pretty low, unfortunately. But if nothing else, now we have some future flexibility since we trade that. That's $12.4 million off the books the next 2 years for Trey Turner. Just did not work out how I thought it would, which is unfortunate. But you live and you learn. So we did end up making spots for the 2 younger guys that I want to call up, in Tristan Gray, who, as I said, was having a nice year down in AAA, as well as Christopher Martinez, who was also having a solid year in AAA and AA as well. So I'm going to simulate up ahead, probably towards the end of the season. I've noticed that the episodes are kind of getting pretty long, so I kind of want to try to get them back into like the 25-30 minute range if that's possible. I don't know how long this one's going to be, but I'd like to try to get the episodes a little shorter because I know personally if I saw an episode that was 40 minutes long, that'd probably turn me away. I probably wouldn't watch the entire thing. I don't know how you guys are, but I'm going to try to make the episodes a little shorter from here on out. I think that's better for everyone involved. So I'm going to simulate until the end of the season, and unless anything, interesting happens or whatever, I probably won't see you guys again until September. So I'm going to simulate up here ahead a couple months, and hopefully the team doesn't completely fall off a cliff. That would be nice. All right, it is the end of the season, Monday, October 2nd, and surprisingly, the Miami Marlins finished 78-84. You take a look at the history index here. That is actually the second best record we've posted since we took over the Marlins in 2017, topped only by the 79-83 record we posted just 2 years ago. Now, our Pythagorean win-loss was 74-88, so that does suggest that we got perhaps a little lucky. But regardless, 78-84 is better than what I expected. You remember, before the season started, I had said that if we could make that 14-win jump from 56 to 70 wins, I would be happy, and we ended up making a 22-win jump from 56 to 78, which is great. We ended up 21 games out in the NL East. The Phillies actually had a worse season than us, so we did not finish last in the division. The Marlins went 42-32 after the All-Star break, so I don't know if it was the infusion of youth that caused the sudden turnaround or what, but the team actually performed pretty well after the All-Star break, which is nice to see. Now, if we can take this momentum into next year and not have such a slow start to the year, then maybe you're looking at a potential dark horse playoff team. But we'll just have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what we can do in free agency. But Final rankings, if we go to info here, finished 14th in batting average, 14th in OBP, 15th in slugging, 14th in OPS, 14th in runs scored, 14th in hits, 12th in extra base hits, 15th in home runs, tied for 13th in walks, 7th in strikeouts, 9th in stolen bases. Now, we had such a slow start to the year offensively, so I would be interested to see what exactly like our batting stats were after the All-Star break as well, because I imagine that our slow start this year, the first few months, kind of factor into this pretty heavily. But looking at pitching and defense, we had a very solid year pitching-wise, 5th in the NL in ERA, 6th in starters ERA, 5th in bullpen ERA, 5th in runs allowed, 5th in hits allowed, 4th in opponent's average, 6th in BABIP, 1st in home runs allowed, 7th in walks, 6th in strikeouts, 7th in defensive efficiency. We finished 39-42 at home, 39-42 on the road, 32-25 in one-run games. We were 8-2 in our last 10. You see, overall, we were 10-14 in April. That May really ended up screwing us more than I think I expected it to. 7-21 in May. You know, if we had just done a little better there, because you see, for the most part, this was a 500 team all year, but that May really hurt our chances at a playoff spot. If we went maybe 500 there, then maybe things are a little different. You don't know, but yeah, that 7-21 record in May really messed us up. We were 15-12 in June, 13-11 in July, 13-16 in August, 19-10 in September. And then we did win our one game in October against the Phillies. Take a look at the final statistics for the squad. Jared Kelenic had an outstanding year. He played 159 games, started all 159. He slashed 289, 384, 471, OPS at 855, a 129 OPS plus. He was close to a 4-win player, led the team in home runs with 22, 117 strikeouts, 81 walks, 15 stolen bases. He did a little bit of everything. Ron Roybal did pretty well after we called him up. He OPS'd just a tick under 800, a 112 OPS plus. He was a 2-win player, 10 home runs, 59 RBIs, 48 strikeouts to 29 walks. I'd be happy with that ratio, and he stole 13 bases as well. Tristan Gray did good when we called him up, 277, 334, 416, triple slash, a 139 ISO. He had 7 home runs of his own, 42 RBIs, 47 strikeouts to 23 walks. Michael Chavis did, I suppose, okay in limited playing time with a 741 OPS. He finished the season on a hot streak. Carlos Cortez finished the season hitting over 300 with 3 home runs, 30 RBIs, 53 strikeouts to 23 walks. He stole 2 bases. He was caught 7 times. That's a little ugly. An OPS plus under 100, an OPS of 739. I'd be interested to see what he can do with a full season. I guess we will find out next year, perhaps. John Dean really turned it around after a very slow start to the season. He ended up with a 261, 312, 374 triple slash, which isn't impressive, but concerning his slow start to the season, I'm okay with it. No home runs, 67 strikeouts to 35 walks, 10 stolen bases. Ben Mahle had a rough go of it in his first real taste of the big leagues in 100 games started. He OPS'd at 660 clip. He was a negative win player, but I'm going to chalk that up to just a rookie season. So hopefully, with a year under his belt, he'll come back next year and become a solid hitter for us. Lucius Fox did, I suppose, okay in limited time. He stole 21 bases for us. Tommy Edman we just had on the team for the leadership. Christopher Martinez had a rough go of it in his rookie year, as did Mahle. Christian Vasquez, of course, we just have him on the team for the defense. I'm not too concerned what he's doing with the bat. Taking a look at pitching, we got really lucky with the pitching staff. Alex Faedo really surprised me. He might actually right now be the best free agent signing in this series. We slotted him into the rotation, and he did phenomenal. He finished with an ERA under 3 in 23 games started, 37 games total. He pitched 151 in the third innings. He let up 12 home runs, 7.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, 2.9 walks. Now, the BABIP is a little concerning, I'm not going to lie, but a 145 ERA plus. He was a 3-win player, one of our best players on the team this year. So it'll be interesting to see if Faedo, because we're going to put him into the starting rotation next year. It'll be interesting to see if he can keep up this performance. Doherty had a very up and down season, but I believe, towards the end, he really turned it on and finished with an ERA under 4. Braxton Garrett has turned into quite the stud pitcher, it would seem, at least according to the ratings. So I'm happy. I'm not going to lie, I was a little concerned there for a while, but it seems like Garrett has finally developed, albeit at age 26. This was his best major league season ever, so hopefully he can carry this momentum into next year. Johnny Bontrager had a rough go of it this year. He just started out rough and really could never get it back together. He finished with a 4.51 ERA, and I'm actually interested to see 7.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. He let up close to a home run every 9, 2.8 walks, a 1.35 whip, 144 strikeouts, 53 walks, a 95 ERA plus. He was a 3-win player, though. So we'll see if he can turn things around next year. We talked about Faedo. AJ Moore really surprised me. I was not expecting him to have this type of year. I was actually thinking about trading him at some point during the season, before the season started even. But he really surprised me. Now, I don't think we can expect him to be this good. I mean, even the BABIP, that is way below his career norms. But a 138 ERA plus, he struck out close to 8 batters per 9 innings, walked 2.4, 152 strikeouts, 48 walks, a 1.06 whip, a 3.11 ERA. So this guy had a really, really good year. All things considered. I don't think he's going to have this good of a year next year, but I guess we'll find out. I certainly hope he does. Bullpen did pretty well as well. That JT Chargeau signing turned out to be a good one. Edward Cabrera came back later in the year after his injury, and he only pitched an inning and 2/3. Michael Baumann, we kicked him from the rotation. He had a slow start to the year, so I don't know what we're going to do with him next year. Sixto Sanchez had a very solid season. We might experiment with him in the rotation at some point if that changeup ever develops, but if not, I'm perfectly content with leaving him in the bullpen. Franklin Colomb had a solid year. He started off a little rough, and especially during the middle months of the year, it was a little worrisome, but he bounced back. Another guy who we might experiment with in the rotation at some point if need be. Austin Franklin and Jose Barrios both had solid years, and Caleb Dirks, he had a 4.60 ERA, a below average ERA plus. He was a negative win player. So I don't know if we're going to bring him back next year. We might let him hit the free agent market. You see, he has hit 6 years of service time right on the nose, so he is a free agent this year. So I don't know if we're going to bring him back. He is seen as a leader in the clubhouse, though, popular in the clubhouse, so I don't know. I don't want to mess up the team chemistry. But we'll figure it out in the next episode. Episode number, what would that be, 23? Ecstatic. That is the highest I believe our chemistry has ever been. The clubhouse atmosphere is off the charts. Kudos to Tommy Edman and the leadership you have assembled. So that's the first time I think I've ever seen this bar in the blue for this Miami team. Ecstatic. That is really good to see. But I am going to end the episode here. I think this is a good spot. In the next episode, we will tackle the 2023 offseason. We'll see who's available, see who we can add to the squad to make this potentially a dark horse playoff team next year. 78-84, really played well after the All-Star break. Hopefully we can carry that momentum into next year. But as always, I want to thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. Enjoy the rest of your day.